Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Michelle Aubin and Linda Lang.
Hi, it is Linda Lang here from ThoughtChange.com. My guest is Rhonda Farage. Rhonda is a healer, a health coach, and an author from Australia. Welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Now, Rhonda and I are both trained in HUNA and NLP, and I believe hypnosis as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
The brain and our thoughts are a big part of the work that we do with other people. And it's great fun to kind of shift things in perception and actually have tangible results show up in your life afterwards. Why don't you just pop in and share some stories or experiences that you have working with changing thought to improve health or life in general?
Well, the work that I do is helping people rewire their brains, specifically to do with chronic fatigue. But I do believe that it is helpful for any area of our life, not just chronic fatigue, not just our health. Because I'm finding now with the work that I do is that the brain is so mystical and magical. And just learning more and more all the time about how our brain works and how the brain's affected by what we think, what we feel, and what we do. And this is where the real healing comes in, because it's about joining our consciousness with the actual physical brain and all its workings in our body. It's fascinating, and it's great fun too, because then you get to see people really change and can really steer their lives the way that they want when they start to realize the power that they have.
And the brain is a pretty resilient organ as well.
Absolutely, because the neurons are very changeable. The wiring in our brain is very changeable. Like we say, the brain's very plastic. Thank God that it is. So that can work in our favor, and it can also work to our detriment depending on what we focus on. So we can be, we can make ourselves well, but we can equally make ourselves unwell.
Yes, our thoughts are very important in the manifestation or creation or law of attraction processes, to be sure. Yeah. And it's not just thoughts, right? It's feelings and
absolutely. Our feelings come out of the unconscious. So sometimes, or a lot of the times, people are not even aware of what they're feeling. Sometimes we have delayed reactions to our feelings. We actually figure out what we're feeling from the day before, but it takes us that long for it to bubble up and come out and for us to figure it out, to get to that conscious part of our mind to go, oh, actually, I was a bit annoyed about that, or, oh, that made me really sad, or, our emotions can be quite unconscious, but they have a massive impact on our brain.
I actually heard that it's our thoughts that create our emotions. Would you agree with that statement?
I believe it's the thoughts that we continually have can create our emotions. I don't think they actually create them. I think they can reinforce them.
Or perhaps trigger.
Yeah, trigger, definitely. Yeah.
Trigger.
Yeah. Yes.
So many people still carry old emotional hurts from the past. I mean, most people do, right?
Yes, and it's all connected. That's why it's hard to split them all out, because they're so intertwined and they all affect each other. Our thoughts affect our feelings affect our thoughts. It's very difficult, and it can be past stuff that's happened to you as a child that's totally unconscious. And you can hear something, smell something, taste something, feel something, and you can get a reaction.
It's really interesting because as you're talking, what I'm seeing is like the DNA strand, and one strand is thoughts and one strand is emotion, and it's like interwoven, and they do affect our DNA.
The way that we think and feel and the things that we do, the habits that we have, absolutely create the environment in which our cells have to live. They get affected, which it directly affects the DNA. Our environment is just not outside or in our house, it's in our body. And that's what we actually have control over.
I think
And
that's
that's,
probably the most important environment we have is
yes.
inside the body.
Yeah, the internal environment. Yeah.
So one of the things that I find working with people, or even just in general conversation with people, is that most people don't realize how negative.
Totally unaware.
So do you have any tips? Because I mean, really awareness is kind of half the battle, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the best tip that you could have is to get other people to help you when you are saying things that you're not even aware that you've said them, because it's such a habit. You're not even hearing yourself anymore. It's just coming out unconsciously. You just say the same thing all the time, and like driving in the car. Oh, we're all the same. We're unconscious. We're driving along. We say the same things, or depending on what mood we're in. I think to practice in the car would be a really good one, because I think that's when we're most unconscious.
What's really interesting is that scientific research is discovering that we think the same thoughts every day, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder lives don't change if you keep
Yeah.
reinforcing the same thing.
I agree.
I agree with you that it's easier if you have someone to help you pinpoint when you're being negative. When I took my master practitioner of NLP training, played this little game where I think we had a fishbowl, and we had to put, I think we had coins, and we had to put a coin in the fishbowl or take a coin from someone whenever they said something negative, because for the most part, at least at the beginning of the week-long training, people were oblivious to
Absolutely.
the words they were choosing. And it's more than just the words, because you can have negative words, but you can also say things, and not necessarily a negative way, but with a negative connotation or a negative energy underneath it.
I think a good place to start is for people to notice how they speak to themselves. People can be doing things and then they go, "Oh, you're stupid." You know, they call themselves stupid, or "What are you doing?" Or that is a direct link straight back to the unconscious mind telling yourself, and being harsh to yourself and being very unloving to yourself. And most people think this is absolutely harmless, and they do it every day.
And that really affects your value, your self-esteem, your confidence levels.
You know, would they say that to a child?
Well, that's really it, isn't it?
If a child was sitting there next to them, would they say it to that child? So it's interesting.
And considering the unconscious mind is approximately the age level of a 6-year-old,
Yeah,
and what an incredible 6-year-old, I might add, because it's the unconscious mind is amazing.
absolutely incredible. It's
Yeah.
our powerhouse, and if we can tap into it, it's limitless. But it takes practice, and this is the whole point with dealing with the brain, with dealing with rewiring, with dealing with changing what we do. And if I can use the word habits, everything takes practice. We don't learn to play a piano overnight. We don't learn to drive a car overnight. We don't learn to tie our shoelaces. It takes practice. And it's like anything. That's how the brain works. It loves practice because it sets up the pathways, the neural pathways. And we want good neural pathways. We don't want the old ones that are not working anymore. They're the old tracks that take us down the same old road we've been down every other day. And we're going, but we don't want to go down there. Well, we need to do something about it.
And it helps to have a little self-compassion on that road.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the self-love and the heart connection is the most important thing to go along with that. And if people can do a daily connection with their heart and to really tap into that feeling, even just by touching their heart and taking a deep breath and feeling that love for themselves, and then also build that compassion that then they can have for their life, for their family, for the rest of the world, that will help them change and figure out what their unconscious stuff is.
And that's a
Mm.
really, really easy exercise. I mean, people could do that, throughout the day periodically.
But it's about having the intention to do it. It's about wanting your life to be different, first of all. They have to want it first, and then they can do something about it.
So you work specifically with chronic fatigue
Yes,
syndrome,
that's right.
and that's because that's something you overcame.
That's right. I had it for a long, long time. Yeah. And I wish I had these techniques when I was ill, because I believed I had it forever. I thought, oh, this is it. This is your lot. You're sick. You've got no energy. You're just going to limp through life now. I didn't believe that it could be, if you could say the word, cured.
So what kind of flipped that switch inside of you that allowed something different?
Well, it was a gradual climb out of the pit, if you like, and it was incremental. Because first of all, it was like having enough energy to actually hold down a part-time job, but you still had to meter your time and your energy. So that's okay. But I was happy I could work. I could earn some money. I didn't even think I could work. Then it's about getting a little bit more energy, being able to exercise without overdoing it, and then going, oh, well, I've got a bit of a life, or I could go out and then not be absolutely crashed the next day. But what I was left over, I call it my chronic fatigue hangover. It was, even though I could still go to work and, I could have an evening out and then rest the next day and recover, I had multiple chemical sensitivity, and that's something that stayed with me. And so, going out was difficult. You go to the cinema, if someone's got perfume on, I know I'm going to have a headache for the rest of the day and the next day. So that multiple chemical sensitivity is part of chronic fatigue, just like electrical hypersensitivity. And, I didn't know how I was going to deal with that. And it was when I started doing the brain work, changing the neurology, which, what we've done through HUNA and NLP, that is when I thought, oh my God, my multiple chemical sensitivity is gone. I can wear perfume. And that was like, wow, that was just incredible for me, because in the chronic fatigue, you're stuck in fight or flight, and the body's going down those old neural pathways every time. I smell that smell in the shop, with the soap aisle. Straight away, it's an automatic unconscious response, like, this is bad, this is dangerous, you're going to be sick, get out of there. That's the automatic thought that got triggered in me, and that's what happened. But by rewiring my brain, it stopped that fight or flight, that automatic nervous response. That's what I do now.
There's a couple of things in there that you said. First of all, the thing I would say is that there's another modality that I've studied. I haven't done all of the training, but I have studied a technique called quantum techniques. And that's exactly what they find, that certain foods or certain smells, certain chemicals actually become toxic to the energy system because of some trauma or emotion or thought pattern that is associated with it. So they use energy to clear that. And it is amazing to do that, whether it's with hypnosis, NLP, HUNA, quantum techniques, whatever. It is a way to shift things in your brain, so your brain doesn't see these kind of everyday things as a threat, really.
That's right. It is absolutely a threat response. That's exactly what's happening. The brain is perceiving a threat. And that's to do with the limbic system and the amygdala. It's going, danger, danger. And then it's going to start all those chemicals running through the body and setting the cortisol off. And then it has a negative feedback loop, and it goes back into the hypothalamus, and it just keeps going around and around. And it's a maladaptive response of the limbic system, basically. And there's lots of ways that you can heal it. So it's about calming it down. It's about retraining it. It's about saying you're not in danger. You're not still being chased by the tiger.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed with the people that I know that have chronic fatigue or even serious depression, it's really hard for them to shift in their mind that that can be different for them.
Absolutely. When you're in it, there's nothing anyone can say to make you believe otherwise. You're so stuck in it. You feel so sick, and there isn't even an ounce of energy to consider it even. It's just like, go away and leave me alone.
And I often hear them say, like, my chronic fatigue, or I'll hear that from people with cancer as well. And the very first thing I say to them is,
Yes.
don't take ownership of it. It doesn't belong to you.
You are not the disease. Yep.
Exactly.
And that's something that I teach in my course. Do not associate with the chronic fatigue. It is not you. And that's something that they have to, first of all, they have to believe that they can be well. And that can be a mountain to climb to start with. And then they have to disassociate themselves from the disease and call it it. They don't even use the name. And then we start focusing on all the good things.
I think that's probably good advice for any kind of health condition.
Any health condition. It's not just chronic fatigue, but it's anyone with any health condition.
We could even, expand that a little bit more to include kind of traumatic events, because a lot of people become identified with their past traumas.
Yep. And post-traumatic stress, that's exactly what's happening. They've gone into fight or flight, their brain's in autopilot, and they're in a chronic stress response all the time. And it's hell.
So, do you have any more easy tips to help people maybe explore that mystical brain of theirs and kind of start to shift things? I know when it's big issues, we often need the support of a coach or a healer or some assistance in our transformation.
Absolutely. I find you can read books and you can get lots of information, but it's actually by practicing with other people is when you really do get the breakthroughs. I find it very difficult to do this sort of stuff on my own. I do need a coach or a healer that I go to help dig it out in a way, because it's really hard to see your own unconscious stuff. That's why you need relationships. You need the mirror to see yourself.
Even if you don't have someone to highlight your negativity, you can look at the other people in your life and where you judge them.
That's right.
Chances are you'll find a similar pattern within yourself.
Yeah. I tell you, the number one tip that you can use, which is very powerful, and it does help you take responsibility for creating your own reality, because that's a concept that I truly believe in, is to anything where you get an emotional reaction to something, there's something there for you to have a look at. It's mainly a negative reaction, because that's when that's going to show us things that we don't want to see. We're happy to accept the happy things, but when it comes to the negative things, it's easier to blame someone else or to say that it was their stuff but if we're having an emotional charge ourselves, then there's something there for us. And that's something that we need to explore. If we're being wound up by someone, if something's annoying us, if we're getting angry, or if something makes us really sad, or if we feel guilty about something, there will be something there that needs clearing. And it's really good. You can go and learn techniques yourself. There's things that you can practice to help clear these negative emotions, but it is good to also have someone that can help.
And you have a course for chronic fatigue sufferers. Yes. And in that course, do you teach how to release some of this negativity?
Yes. Yeah, we do it in a very practical way, because everything you need to practice. This is the thing. So there are certain steps that you go through in the program. I actually call it a TFB brain app, because you're rewiring your brain. We're putting a new app in your brain. So we're using thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So there's a certain sequence that you go through that you practice every day.
As a HUNA practitioner and NLP practitioner, I know how powerful both of those
Oh,
two
yeah,
modalities are, and when they
absolutely.
work together, they're amazing. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic work.
There was one Huna technique that absolutely transformed my life, you know, because I knew I had a lot of fear and I knew I had a lot of issues around abandonment, which I think is a really common human thing that we all deal with to some degree. Just doing this simple Huna technique absolutely transformed that for me. It was a really big shift for me, which was, you know, that abandonment stuff was running my life. Every decision I made, everything, every relationship I had was all based on that. So yeah, it was fascinating to be aware of that, and I knew it was affecting me, but I didn't know what to do about it. And that's why Huna was so practical. I just thought, oh great, I've got something that can shift things.
It is amazing. That is for sure.
Mm.
So one other final question before we wrap up. If people are on their own and they find themselves in a low place, like maybe most people might not be able to catch the negative thought or the actual spoken word that they're putting out into the universe, but they know how they feel. And if they're feeling exhausted, feeling sad, depressed, or stuck,
Yeah.
how do you feel about listening to uplifting music or watching comedies or something just to kind of shift?
I think there's a little routine that if people are suffering with depression or if they're ill in any way, I think breathing is probably one of the best things they can do. And that's a really simple ha breathing. That's breathing in for the ratio of 1 and out for 2. So like you'll take 4 in, 8 out, say. To calm your nervous system is the most powerful thing that anybody can do. And they can just do this for a minute, just a minute. Go out and walk on the lawn when you're feeling depressed. Go and stand on some grass in bare feet and put your face in the sun. And, you know, put music on. Like if you need to do the dishes or something, put some uplifting music on. Do a little meditation, just even if it's for 5 minutes, something that will soothe. And these little things that you incorporate in your day will help shift. And the other thing that they can do on a very mental level is gratitude and intention, which is their little practices within themselves that are so powerful. So if you can be grateful for 3 things every day, 3 different things, it will help shift you. And even searching for the things that you're grateful for is just as powerful. And then create the intention every day of how you want your day to go. So if you just did those simple things, they're so simple, it would change your life.
Fantastic tips. Thank you so much, Rhonda, for being our guest here this week. Would you like to share with the listeners how they can connect with you?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me, Linda. This is great fun. It's nice having a chat. People can reach me at cfstreatment.com.au, and there is a Facebook page as well, CFS Treatment. So yeah, welcome. Come and join me.
Perfect. And what's the name of your book?
The name of the book is The Secret to Healing Chronic Fatigue. So it's a 10-step recovery program.
And that's available on Amazon?
Amazon, yes, in Kindle format.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you again for inspiring us to shift things on an inside level so that we can have change in our outside world.
Great. Thanks, Linda. It's been good fun.
Okay. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, or subscribe to this channel. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.